think I'm going to have to go back to actual paper because I'm getting old. So I'm doing that thing we talked about. This first poem, it's actually it was part of an anthology published by The Porch in conjunction with MTA for Poetry in Motion, this program they did, and the anthology, copies of the anthology were distributed on buses and bus stations, and it kind of celebrates Nashville. And this poem celebrates one of my favorite things in life and in Nashville, food. So it's a little bit of a tribute to, actually, a lot of it kind of centers around the Nolensville Road area. It's called Redemption 615. When the Piggly Wiggly Oracle said, redemption comes after 1,000 years, I thought he said, no, let me start again. When the Piggly Wiggly Oracle said, redemption comes after 1,000 tears, I thought he said 1,000 years. I knew I had 30 at best. So I bagged my Colby Jack and drove to the west side, found a temple of pho and washed away my sins with a side of nyuk cham. In a house of kimchi, I took Eucharist, dipped Dwaiji Bagobi into a saucer of gochujang. I rode the bus south, worshipped at the altar of a taco truck, and baptized myself in horchata. With prayer clasped hands, I lifted kebab kubata to my mouth. I broke injera with other lost pilgrims and sang karaoke over a collection plate of papaya salad. From the airport, an angel jet guided me up Highway 41 to a revival of ramen and takoyaki. I followed the scent of curry to a condo pagoda where kitchen profits and secrets were folded into doses. The Cumberland parted its waters for me to cross and pay tribute to the Prince of Cayenne and Foul. And when chairs landed upside down on tables and window signs went dark, I stumbled home, drunk on the flavors of my city, until a flake of chili powder, still on my tongue, coaxed a single tear down my cheek. I fell to my knees. I thanked the spices and sauces and fire. I thanked the chefs and their hands. I thanked the chefs' families. Now I knew what the oracle had said, and I only had 999 to go. And this next one is called, it's another Nashville-centric one. It's called Nashville Needs More Harpsichords. Baroque country seems an unlikely genre, but any sign spinner or hipster will tell you there's more to this city than cowboy boots, hot pants, and songs about trucks and bachelorette parties. There's a secret world of phosphorescent possibility with a taste like rogue bourbon, an alleyway realm of rusty truth rising from the cracks in a sidewalk broken under tomorrow's jackhammer. There are steps to an empty lot where ghosts stamp out cigarettes under soles worn against concrete foundations, where weeds sprout like Christmas trees, no lights, but a sky of contrails and stars. There's a house with stairs to nothing, where Ignis Fatuus, patron saint of luminous decay and the never was, does a shot of radiator hooch every time someone mentions ghosts. The only ghosts I know lost themselves in the spin of an 8-track tape of trumper songs, Iggy says. 1973 was a hell of a year. I confess the dead visit me in my sleep, between dreams of loose teeth. Why do you grind so, Iggy asks. Why do you look for shadows in the dark? Then he puts his finger against his lips and cuts his eyes toward the gaudy neon scape of Lower Broadway. When we're both quiet for another breath each, the faint jangle of a harpsichord finds us through the carnival of neo-twang and beer chatter. I know the melody, and so does Iggy. He smiles because he's a Johnny Cash fan. I smile because I know every word to I Still Miss Someone. Thank you.
That was awesome, James. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, the detail. Next we have Jimmy Simmons.
Good evening, everyone. long time no see to a few of you. The first time that I came here, I did this piece called Unfaithful Son. And the very next Sunday morning, I was in the shower and I was having one of my conversations with the Lord, and I was like, if this is what you want me to do, then we're going to have to come up with something other than this one piece. And he said one thing to me. He said, when you started on this journey, I gave you a sword. And I didn't really understand what that meant at the time, but it became the first line to the piece that I'm going to do tonight. This is called Glorious Pride. When I started on this journey, on the ground before me, Jesus laid down a sword. But my demons weren't afraid. They would taunt me saying, look, he can't even see it. He doesn't really know the Lord. But I wasn't afraid of them either. I'm a man, I'm strong. It didn't matter how many of them came after me. I could fight them and resist temptations, but only for so long. And I remember the Lord telling me, let me help you, my son. Remember, I know you. But I said, nah, back up, Lord. I got this. Let me show you. So with a sad presence in his aura, he steps aside and lets me run the race. Now I walk out there with my chest out, head held high, proud as a mother, only to fall flat on my face. And I looked up at him and I said, I don't know what happened. I must have tripped. My foot, it got stuck. And the Lord just shook his head and said, it's all right. He grabbed me by the hands and he helped me back up. But then he said to me, do you not see that what you think is the way, how that's not it? But I said, Lord, don't worry. Let me show you. I got this. So with the sad presence in his aura, he steps back and lets me lead. Now I walk out there with my chest out, head held high, proud as a mother, only to be brought to my knees. And I looked up at him and I said, well, at least this time I didn't fall flat on my face. And the Lord just shook his head and said, it's all right. He dusted me off and stood me back in my place. But then he said to me, do you not see that the path you're on, how it's not right? But I said, Lord, trust me, I got this. Let me show you I can fight. So with a sad presence in his aura, he goes ahead and lets me walk. Now this demon confronts me and gets in my face and says, remember me? You'll never change. You're nothing but talk. Why don't you ask your Lord if he holds you above me or anyone else? Now, I hate this thing that's standing in front of me and I'm about to kill it. And the Lord said, be careful now, because you're staring at yourself. What you see in front of you are all the things that you hold inside, and all of these things you place above me, including your glorious pride. But Lord, haven't I been following you? I go to church, I read my Bible, I'm even serving. The things that I'm doing, I know they're right. And he said, those things are good, but none of that matters if what you do behind closed doors isn't pleasant in my sight. But Lord, I repent for the things that I do. I'm a Christian now. I know I'm good, and I don't need a lecture. And he said, you sin and repent. Sin and repent. You say you're a Christian, but you and your old ways resemble a broken record. But Lord, even you said that when we ask for forgiveness, you forgive it and you forget it. It's expunged. And he said, yes, I forgave it and I forgot it. But even I know a rerun when I see one. Now I've shown you all these things, and yet you still refuse to see that if you pick and choose which laws of mine you want to follow, then you're not following me. And you can continue down this path blindly with those scales over your eyes, but you will never walk in the light of my grace until you let go of your evil ways, including your glorious pride. Well, what did you expect? This darkness came into my heart when I was a child and you did nothing. Where were you? Is that an example of your unfailing love? And he said, you still don't see. I was right there with you. And if I didn't let that happen, you would never followed me this relentlessly or even knew who I was. And yet through it all, here you stand before me and you call me your Lord. Now I've given you the wisdom and courage to face your fears, and it's time you pick up that sword. Now when the Lord said that, the scales slowly fell, and for once I was able to look and see that the sword the Lord laid in front of me was in fact his holy book. And I realized that throughout my life, when times got tough, it was Jesus who I was missing. But I'm ashamed to say that when times were good, I forgot he even existed. The pain I felt from that, I wanted to pick back up those scales, and I did not want to believe. As many times as I failed my Lord, not once has he failed me. But now I see the path he lays before me, to remain in the presence of the one who adores me and turn away from the ways of the one who abhors me. Even when I didn't want him, he stood beside me. He never lied to me. He even died for me. He is simply amazing. Jesus, your name I can't stop praising. In my heart, your fire is blazing. Your face I'm craving, my sin is fading. My path you keep paving towards your fields for grazing. You are my shepherd and I am your sheep. I weep at your feet for my disbelief. Silence I can't keep. Your words run too deep. Inside me they seep and make me complete. He is amazing. Jesus, his name I can't stop praising. You see, time and time again, I turned away from him. But he stood there with his arms open, inviting me back in despite all my sin. I asked, why do you want me? I've already lost at this life. There's no way I can win. But then he showed me his river and said, that is where your life begins. How can I accept the love from this God, this Spirit, this Son of Man, when my past grips my heart and torments me at no end? And he said, you have died to your past. So live now and stop stressing. Stay consistent with your trust in me and don't turn away from my blessings. I've given you my all, even though from you I've received but a portion. Put your faith in me and not the things of this world, and I will teach you to run with horses. Lord, you're right, and I am trying. I want to follow you through my words and my actions for your sake. But honestly, as shallow as a dried up lake has always been the depth of my faith. You handed me the sword and you told me to learn it. You're always showing me mercy and I never deserve it. This grace is given by you because I can never earn it. If I hand you my life, God, will you take my sin and burn it? But why would you? Look at how I've lived, the things that I've done. Even my own father said I wasn't his favorite, Lord, so I know that I'm worthless. He then told me I was wrong, then showed me I was worth it. He said, you are no longer that man now. Remember the water to which I led you. Remember the wine you drank when you asked for forgiveness and the bread that I fed you. Remember the fields I let you gaze upon when I put you on this path away from that house. Remember that night I sobered you up and pulled the gun out of your mouth. Your demons want nothing but your destruction. But when they call, you answer them as if their words over mine can't be heard any clearer. Can't you see it's them, the reason why you hate so much, the reflection you see in the mirror? So stop looking back and look to me when your past taunts you. Have I not shown you how much I love you? Have I not shown you how much I want you? Yet you give in to their lies as if what they say about you is exact. Have you forgotten I'm the one who created you? And I made you better than that. So I'll ask you this, and your first thought will determine what I do. He sat me down and stood in front of me, then asked me, is my love good enough for you? My God has stayed true. Through his grace and mercy, I've been renewed with a mighty courage only given to a few. So I picked up that sword with Jesus and heaven's armies at my side, my journey of surrender to my God, to face my demons and to let go of my evil ways, including my glorious pride. Thank you. I didn't kick it this time.
Thank you so much. That was so powerful and inspiring. Thank you. All right, next we have Kathleen Kidder. Yay!
Yeah, I'm a newbie. I confess this is my first time to ever do this. And I am grateful that you came before me, because what I'm about to read is a result of my years of doing what you did before you finally surrendered. I have surrendered now, and my life is different. Okay. that better?
Is that better?
Okay. All right. I'm going to read Red Velvet Blues, if I can see it. Red Velvet Blues, ribbons of pearls and neat draping rose. I'm sorry, I'm going to start again. The title is Red Velvet Blues. Red velvet bows, ribbons of pearls and neat draping rose. Ivory angel on top boughs of deep green. Sprigs of mistletoe tucked in between. Bright papered packages nestled below. Tiny white lights that twinkle like snow. Silver and red ornaments hung next to the sugar canes meant for the young. A beautiful, heartwarming sight to watch as my tears fall all through the night. Those boxes are empty. The candy cans are not real. Everything's plastic, even the way that I feel. Behind, always smiling, beneath the sweet trap, lies a river of pain. Excuse me. Lies a river of pain that runs deep and black. Glittering music and great smells fill the air, only to hide past years of despair. Years filled with secrets and memories to keep, far from the little ones that we read to sleep. The vows that were spoken and so easily broken. Trust, honor, commitment to try. Words with no meaning, believing the lie. Year after year, tear after tear. Just a little while longer, our love will grow stronger. It was a beautiful thought to hold through the night. It was beautiful. It's now clear out of sight. Alone on this river, both deep and black, waiting for the little ones grown now to come back, looking for someone standing on shore to hold out a lantern of caring once more. Maybe next year the boxes I'll fill. Maybe next year the candy canes will be real. Maybe next year the sun will rain on that dark river so brightly I'll not feel the pain. Maybe next year. And this one was written just recently for the poetry marathon last year. And this one's hard too. It's called Terror Inside. I hear the chilling sound of his voice as I recognize behind me the cold click-clack of the shotgun loading. Barely able to breathe, I lift my eyes from the plates in my hands to see his reflection in the window over the sink. I see his evil smirk. Are you ready to finish that argument now? My heart racing, electricity surging through my body. In slow motion, I turn to face him. Fear so intense, I lose control of my body. Seeing me standing in my own puddle, he laughs and walks out again. Humiliated and terrified, I drop to the floor and weep for my babies, praying they'll never know this terror.
Oh, it's so powerful. Thank you so much. You did great. You did so well. Next we have John Winston Haycock. Let's do it quickly. And thank you to John and Chance for helping us set up this walk afternoon.
More like chance, really. There we go. Or I could just yell. It's more in nature. All right, so I wrote this poem to explain why I wrote poems, because I don't really write poems. And I decided I did. It's called Wind Sprints. I write poems for the same reason that a marathoner takes yoga or a football player ballet. As a novelist in training, hoping to keep my slow twitch muscles sufficiently supple so that when every joule of energy has been fracked from the swollen hamstrings of my plots,
the cramped calves of character development, and Achilles tendons of dramatic tension, I will still have sufficient reserves that my verbal grandiosity will cause you to sigh so loudly it drowns out the sound of shin separating from flesh. And I wrote 2 poems when I was here last week, and I was hoping Jennifer was going to be back, but she's not, so damn her. So let's see. All right, so this one is based on something someone said of your thing. It's called Morning Horoscope. And I'm writing this in the voice of a non-male person, not me. So it's fiction. Morning Horoscope. I still read your horoscope each morning between coffee and bites of a scone. Gemini, of course. You showed up on the longest day in June. It said, be open to a vast array of possibilities. Well, you've always done that. Split personality, split town. You're on the cusp, the 20th, leaning up against Cancer, which is what you called me. Why? Because I care too much? If it's wrong to care more deeply for you than even myself, I'm guilty. My friends say I'm drawn to bad boys and lost dogs, hoping that unconditional love will keep them both at home. But bad boys do bad things, and dogs are made to roam. I lift my mug off the folded paper, revealing a damp ring that curves from Gemini to Taurus to Aries, leaching all the way up to the one-ads. I don't know if this makes any sense, but that's the beauty of these things, right? It's called Skin Rhythm. There is no break between the drizzle and the deluge, only a beach between surf and shore. It started before we knew it, humid sighs and molten whispers, soft echoes skimming treetop terraces as a drifting silence wafts to the stars. The orchestra begins to tune, rest. The woodwinds begin the symphony, rest. Staccato, rest. Allegro, rest. Adagio, rest. Crescendo, rest. Finale, rest. Until the coda mocks our meandering. Yet once, sweat fled flesh, minuscule ponds from winter's thaw, rivulets sprout in steaming skin, dew-laced lakes feeding springs and rapids. 1,000 monsoons fed the garden. 1,000,000 lightning strikes fed the forest. He wanted an unrepentant Eve. She wanted to know his every atom, to have him inside her, clasped like a leather hymnal whose musty scent their only and shared blush. And this is a quick little poem that actually got published somewhere. So this should be very motivating for anyone that's trying to get published. It's called Heaven. It's technically a sonnet, 4/6/4. Devil's teeth, angels weep. You have to like the afterlife. Free will's a joke. There is no hope. Predestination? Nope. Merely holy masturbation. But if I played my cards just right and hedged my bet with Pascal's wager, I'll reunite with the ones I love, even if I didn't love my neighbor. This is another sonnet, I think. I keep trying to do sonnets that rhyme. It's called Fishing Upstream. A bloodline of reverence lay long in my past, 1,000 prophets, each more brazen than the last. Some gesture toward salvation, others prefer to tout damnation, but in my foggy limbo, they do not call for me. Ever since my aged parents chose not to name me Isaac, I've battled against the impulse to recline on exalted altars built of granite, lies, and bone. I wish there was a chapel for all who don't believe, with shining golden chalices whose brims cannot be empty. But so long as no fields welcome both the lion and the lamb, I'll keep on fishing upstream, chasing faith as best I can. And the last one is called The Atheist's Prayer. I feel like I've been presenting the Democratic response to the GOP State of the Union in some ways. Sorry. The Atheist Prayer, also a sonnet. I never believed in magic, silly card tricks, or pulling rabbits from hats, although as a kid, I did see a woman get sawed in half by chemo and radiation and the burrowing sores within her. No list for Santa, nor whispered pleas to saints. I sculpted voodoo incantations that could transform mere syllables murmured by a shaman or priest into mystic power. What deity hears pleas from only a chosen flock? Why is pride in man such a sin, but the demand for docile worship acceptable? These questions haunted me from the cradle and drowned wise and simple faith in a riptide of dueling tomes and Bibles. But if the proper supplication would let your eyes close just once without clenching, grant you a single hour of placid repose or a breath that was not shallow or strained. If the proper sacrifice sent in the right direction would lessen by even an instant the constant sear of blessed poison dripping in your veins to burn away unholy pain, I'd fall weeping upon my knees in grateful surrender and not rise again until vowing to wear the hair shirt or yarmulke or hijab or ashes and scream your name daily bent over in prayer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. That was beautiful. Now we have Cynthia reading.
Hi everyone, how we doing? Can everyone hear me in the back? Yes? I'm Cynthia. I write surreal poetry and I have books for sale, so if you like what you hear, come see me afterwards. And this first one I'm going to read. I was in love and I hated it, and I thought through alternative medicine I would be able to fall out of love. And this was the result. It's called Fire Cupping. I'm this close to flame fusing 15 glass orbs to my bare back because I sit up too straight. Sparks Fly by Taylor Swift reminds me of you. I rarely blow dry my hair, can't park in the gap tooth lines. Saw you in my sleep. COD was asphyxia via laughter. I ache to quit writing about you, so fire cups will cause your smile to swell under my skin and bruise. Never again weave through my veins and harden like sugar-spun crystals. Never again grow on top of sticky red blood cells or feed off my live dark fluid, but leave deep purple circles that bubble up at the edges, so all your rain-wet hair can do is melt to a gray, shapeless mush. This one's called Jesus Chocolate. At 5:30 a.m. on Christmas Day, that Taylor Swift track Fearless plays for the 13th time. Photos on Facebook show your spiderweb spindle fingertips touching the spot in Bethlehem where poppy-scented placenta steamed so much the straw ignited. That song ignites a sort of synapse soundtrack in me. Lie in the bed of your scarlet pickup truck, smell the starch in your magenta V-neck shirt, and if you never take off your crucifix, then I never remember to flip the bottom layer of a chocolate cake over before frosting, lest I slam into your glass sliding door. This one's called L'Esprit d'Escalier, which is the feeling you get after leaving a conversation when you think of all the things you should have said. And literally it means the spirit of the staircase. I'm a nun, and you're so sugar sure of yourself. I don't like some things the Bible says you explain, but I have to believe them. Then my shoelace almost catches in the bottom of the Roslyn escalator. I'm afraid, Frasse, in your recent blog post about your mission to France. I donate $20 to your fund despite napping for 3 hours to cope with your claim that I don't understand Prince Caspian's ending. Pull my plaid blanket over my head, because that pissed me off. Prince Caspian's ending hits me too car crash close. This poem can't swerve around, step over abstractions. As sure as you dye your hair brown every 6 months and declare, I give good hugs. Good hugs. Thank you all so much.
I'm laughing so hard I'm crying. It's just great. Thank you so much.
Oh my God.
Now I'm crying more. Okay. Now we have Kara Raymer. Yay!
I wrote this because I hate small talk. More specifically, I hate speaking on the phone. So this is about that. It's called I'm Doing Fine, How Are You? Yeah, how are you? Well, that's cool. Anything new? Nah, let's hear about you. Everything is going so well. So why am I not happy? Why do I still reach for an alternate reality every night? Why aren't I really enjoying this part of my life? Everything is supposedly coming together. It won't last long. I'll screw it up. That's the only thing in my toolbox. I'm changing, but will it be enough? Enough to save her in time. Enough to feel as if I deserve it. I'm sorry I can't hug you easily. Sorry I can't talk with you easily. And I apologize for not being able to feel as deeply. I hate feelings. Every time they knock on my chest and vibrate through my lungs, I duck for cover. Nobody's home, so don't bother peeping through the window. The TV is left on to keep the silence company. The music to distract your mind from me, a masterfully destructive piece. The next art display, 2018 Fisk. But it won't ever open up to the public. My doors are as tight as my lips when I come close to revealing this. The smile is a sign on the door, leading you to believe the falsified info. Maybe one day, we will open our life's work to your soul. See, this is why I don't like to talk about me. Are you happy? I'm sure as hell not. My eyes wake to observe yet again the sight of 4 walls in a simple hallway that separates me from the monster that tore my trust away. Flashbacks stop me from sleeping. I'm falling a dream because everyone loves idea and says I'm good at it. But forever? Or that I have to go to school as to not to disappoint everyone. But in doing so, I push my anxiety to the max by interacting with another. Most definitely that I lost my damn lavender that helps me make it through each poem sanely. Never mind, can we reverse all of that? Revise. I'm doing good. Really happy. Everything is coming together. This one, it's still a work in progress. It's a work in progress. Don't shake the bottle too hard. The contents are more fragile than you think. I still have to hold things together. A wilted weed, constantly craving to be like the bloom blues and yellows that grow next to it. My mind is clouded again. The fog thickened and now I can't see the road to help. I was doing so well, but the baggie did an amazing trick and appeared in my hand. Who truly enjoys watching a person fall apart repeatedly? Each inhale, I'm closer to the brink. The edge is such a beautiful thing. Dark and enticing, unknown, locking its hands tightly with mine. Just a small yank and it's all through. Sorry, I'm too busy next week. Trust me, I'd love to meet. I'll be analyzing human behavior. What smile needs to be shown? What words would crinkle their toes? If there's control over their actions and responses, there's no room for them to hurt me, like the pain I witnessed her endure. Just smush me into the hands of a 5-year-old. Toss me into the hair of the one he likes. Forget I'm here, and please don't leave your heart. I'm toxic for myself. What makes you think not for you? Getting too deep again. Just want to return back to my Netflix.
Thank you, Kara. Love to hear you read. Now we have Benjamin Reese, and I'm going to read a little bit about him. Are you guys excited about that? Yeah. Okay. Benjamin Reese got his start as a poet in Chicago. He's lived in Nashville for 9 years, where he's continued to write and perform. He's also a writer, director, and actor for the arts at Center Street, a community theater in Old Hickory. He makes a living sharing his passion for books and language as a 7th and 8th grade English teacher. He likes poems that take odd turns and take long walks to overlooked places. Are you ready? All right.
What could be better than an American breakfast? My friend says. And then he leans forward and points and names each item the waitress has just brought to the table. The hash browns and eggs, he says. The bacon, the pancakes, the toast, the cup of orange juice and coffee. And then he leans back in his booth with this look that seems to say, I could have never imagined I would be worthy of such a moment, and yet here I am. He's all disheveled hair and joy, and he tells me how special this is, having breakfast with me. His voice is celebratory, his face exuberant. He might have been manic, but who am I to say? That would all come later, and anyways, there are memories so precious they need not preface anything. We were just boys in a diner in Chicago, making the most of the morning. My friend slides the tines of his fork under each egg and carefully lifts it to his hash. These moments are small and delicate, and how we speak is how they break or stay whole. We must be careful. We must lean into our lives and point and name each good thing before they leave us forever. We must learn to pray before our meals in whatever language of gratitude we can. Thank you. True. How we speak with one another during an experience transforms the quality of that experience. And I have so many good memories with my friend because he was very insistent on getting everybody to recognize how special a moment was, even if it was ordinary. But anyways, in that spirit, I'd just like to thank the people that have made this whole event possible. Thank you, Flatrock Cafe and the barista back there, and for giving us this space. And thanks to Amy Jackson, who organizes this every month, and that's a lot of work, so thank you. Let's give her a hand. Yeah. And to the poets who shared, thank you. And then to you, the listener, I really appreciate you taking your time to listen to these poems. This next poem is called Stealing Happiness. Happiness is easier to get when you remember that someone doesn't want you to have it. That there are men in boardrooms plotting your despair. Every poem is a blueprint to a vault some jackass on a yacht doesn't want you to open. I carry my words like an oyster knife everywhere I go to crack open these moments, to scrape from them their hidden joys. I'd be arrested if they knew how much I shoplift from the great bazaar of this world. When you caught me last September, you asked me why my poems wander the way they do. I said the fox loves the confusion of the forest because he knows he's hunted. I want poems with undergrowth. I want poems with foliage. I want poems where the stars blink through a dark tangle of branches. Poems that hide my tracks from the advertisers who would aim their rifles at my happiness. When we met last September, hidden deep in the forest of our shared confusion, you drew your body close to mine, and I felt every touch a blessing, every kiss a shock of lightning through the dark sky of my body. Is it indecent to feel this much for free? Then I am indecent. Then these poems are indecent, and the men who would leverage my sadness against me will be thwarted when they find I have filled these empty spaces with every poem I have ever written, and that I love my poor life because it is my own, because I will not buy another. This next poem is called A Poem Stolen from Children. And that's exactly what it is. I do teach English, and I've gone to teach poetry to a lot of different grades and levels and workshops. So this poem is a collection of my students' work, because I think the interior lives of children are more complex and interesting than we give them credit for. And when you give them a chance to write poetry, that really comes out. So anyways, this is called A Poem Stolen from Children. I used to be a lump of dirt. Now I'm a gardener. Do you love ice cream? I love a good day, don't you? Come to me to a land where everyone is treated the same. God made the water, the sun, and even the clams. Flower, why do you bloom? Flower, why is there a baking item named after you? Is it because it's made of you? Do I eat my cake not caring that I'm eating your family? If you were a light bulb, you would be changed. The clock, why do you eat people? Time is supposed to be good, not like a shirt with slugs on it. I want a smart and intelligent cat. I want a laughing dog. I used to be a lonely kid. Now I'm the loneliest kid in the world. I see a woman baking cupcakes for her husband who is playing music. Behind her is a lonely cloud pouring rain into a bucket. Have love, have fun, be gentle, be crazy. Dance fast, dance slow, be light when you dance, be dark when you dance. Shout out to my student Violet who wrote the line, "Behind me is a lonely cloud pouring rain into a bucket," which is honestly a better line of poetry than I'll ever hope to write, so. I guess that's okay. This next poem is called What the Cyclops Could Not See. And it's taken from Homer's Odyssey. In the Odyssey, the Cyclops was a creature who, because he was favored by Poseidon, had everything provided for him from the earth, and therefore didn't have to care about anybody else or work with anybody else, which was a situation I kind of envied. I thought that was great. But in contrast, human beings have to work together in societies because of our many biological disadvantages. And Homer captures that nicely in the physiognomy of the characters, because the Cyclops has one eye because he only has to care about his own perspective, where human beings have two eyes because our whole life is negotiating multiple viewpoints. And this is a poem for people like me who would want to extract ourselves from social responsibility, but realize that working with other people is a prerequisite to be fully human, unfortunately. It's called What the Cyclops Could Not See. And then you said, "But Ben, your eyes are so bright." And I said, "That's only because they shine like the beam of a lighthouse that warns coming ships of the dark sheer cliffs and melancholy waves of my soul." And you said, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." And then you said that John Donne said that no man is an island, but I said I will dig a moat around myself and try to become one. A grim loner, I said. And I was saying what Homer said about the Cyclops in his arcing cavern, who drank his wine and ate his sheep and lived alone like a king. And then you looked at me. with both your eyes and said, but what can a single eye really see? And all this you said, I said, made me think of what Mikhail Bakhtin said, that all life was this grand symposium where we contribute our bodies and we contribute our voices. And I thought of how lonely an auditorium life would be without you. And I thought of all the things the Cyclops with his one great eye must have missed. And I thought of love and its complications and of this endless dance of dialogue and all the shades and subtleties and colors he could not see. And I saw that between you and me there was endless distances, but endless connections. And that to truly look into the eyes of another person was like stepping out of the self's great cavern to look upon a wild and wonderful sea. And I was grateful then for these two eyes that burn on the shore of my lonely life as a warning and an invitation. This week marked the memorial of the death of a poet, Frank O'Hara. And last week marked the death of the jazz singer, Billie Holiday. So this poem has been on my mind. It's a poem by Frank O'Hara about the death of Billie Holiday. Actually, when I was in college with this guy, he made me perform it in front of people to my shock and horror. And he was like, "You memorize poetry? You got to share it." And he like called in all the people on our floor and made me perform. That was a long time ago. But we're still kicking it together here with poetry, dude. Thanks. This is called The Day Lady Died. Lady Day was the nickname of Billie Holiday. The Day Lady Died by Frank O'Hara. It is 12:20 in New York, a Friday, 3 days after Bastille Day. Yes, it is 1959, and I go get a shoe shine because I will get off the 419 in East Hampton at 7:15 and then go straight to dinner. And I don't know the people who will feed me. I walk up the street beginning the sun and have a hamburger and a malted and buy an ugly New World writing to see what the poets in Ghana are doing these days. I go onto the bank where Miss Stillwagon, first name Linda I once heard, doesn't even ring up my balance for the first time in her life. And in the Golden Griffin, I get a little Verlaine for Patsy, with drawings by Bernard, although I do think of Hesiod, translated by Richmond Lattimore, or Brenna Bahan's new player, Le Balcon or Les Negres of Genet, but I don't. I stick with Verlaine, after practically going to sleep with quandariness. And for Mike, I just stroll into the Park Lane liquor store and ask for a bottle of Strega, then go back to where I came from, to 6th Avenue, to the tobacconist in the Ziegfeld Theater, and casually ask for a carton of Gauloise and a carton of Picayunes, and a New York Post with her face on it. And I'm sweating a lot by now and thinking of leaning on the John door at the 5 spot as she whispered a song along the keyboard to Mal Waldron, and everyone and I stopped breathing. This is called Tumbleweed. There will come a time in every man's life where he will look inside himself and find nothing but a ghost town, with empty buildings and streets of dust, where the only thought he can think is like a tumbleweed blown endlessly by the wind. And standing in front of a woman, he will gather in his arms these tumbleweed branches and ask, "Can you take them?" And she will. I have heard legends that there are rooms where women sit and take the dried branches of tumbleweed and weave them into velvet thread to make blankets to hold babies in. And I believe them, for I have seen a woman make a home on a low income. And a woman who took 1,000 broken things to build a table for her children to eat from, and a table for her children to play under, and a table where one day she would sit and watch her children walk far away. There are philosophers who say that only women know true heartache, and I believe them. For my mother, she still cries every time I cross a security checkpoint line to get on a plane to fly far from her. And I could speak of Andromache, who tried to keep her man from war, or Penelope, who held him after he did not listen, or Niobe and her endless tears, or I could simply talk of the women who took me in. Their hospitality saved my life. And there are those who would say, I have no idea what I'm talking about, and I agree. But there may come a time in a man's life where he will look into the eyes of a woman, and that tumbleweed inside him, blown endlessly by the wind, will suddenly roll onto a field of green and pause and come to rest and bloom into a rose bush. I am a rat on this ship. What do I know about navigating by the stars? They call me a poet, but what of it? I collect words and fragments from under the table after better men have been there. I sometimes sit at their feet and listen to their conversation, but their knowledge hangs high above me like fruit on branches I will never reach. So I content myself with what has fallen, with what is discarded. These words and phrases I gather up from the floor and carry with me and compose so carefully in the secret rooms of this ship. Citrus, apricot, mackerel, I write with these leftover words, and I am pleased with my rodent verse. At night I walk with the captain and I read him my poems. Apricot, citrus, mackerel, I say, and he smiles. And we walk about the deck of the ship to the rhythm of the night and the sea and loneliness. I wish I could help him with my poems, but I'm a rat on this ship. What do I know about navigating by the stars? All right, well, this will be my last poem. This last poem is called A Poem for Tables, Part 1. Actually, the poem I began this set with was A Poem for Tables, Part 3. I'm writing a series of poems about tables, particularly the social interaction that happens around them, where people really can connect and actually talk and have conversations. So this will be my last poem. I really appreciate everybody's attention and listening. And hopefully we'll see each other around the table soon. A Poem for Tables, Part 1. Friends, come in. Have a seat at the table. We are talking, but we are not yet talking. We must settle into the night and drink some of the wine from the cabinet until our true selves knock at the door and we let them in. Then we can begin and descend into the cellars of our lives and bring up the darker wine. My friends, we have gathered here, but we are still too familiar. We must come as the strangers that we are and look into each other's eyes and ask questions. Questions we cast like nets into the darkness. Who knows what treasures we will haul up to the deck of this table. My friends, we are talking, but we are still guards at attention by our miserable gates, these gates we've made to protect us from the world. This table is a new world. Unlock, swing open. I am pouring this poem into your cup. How late must this night get? How deep must the darkness be around us? How cold must be the coldness in our bones until we speak out of the still burning embers of who we are and gather around this table for warmth. My friends, my heart has taken so many wrong turns, I don't know where it's left me. Call out, and I will follow your voice like a thread away from these lonely nights and streets and the city of cold buildings to the place where our maps meet, to this table, to this circle of friends and open eyes and still beating hearts. Thank you.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Right. Would you like to hear another one from me, possibly? Okay. Let's see. Time is ticking. Okay, this is another breath-halted girl walks for the noise to repeat itself. Its foreign self, it is the sound sound of a bird she does not know by name but dream, releasing her hold on memory time, not so distant from her dream hearing, like a yesterday mouth, close and cringing, near. Called or sang or spoke in foreign note to her it did, in a blue-spangled monastery circus, long-faced stranger dream, from on top of his bleeding crowned fallen head. It cried, music triumph and piercing truth with orange open flame beak, and saw her with one bead ball god moon eye and one eye sapphire blue, sweet smiling at her, she to remember wonder, which eye reflected her with face upturned, and which eye saw her, spoke her name at once in silence, one drop of blood sound, called her, and in the dream she follows, cannot answer. Would anyone else like to come up to the mic with another poem? You would? Awesome. Welcome.
Getting braver than I expected to.
That's good.
All right, I have two I would like to share with you. One of them asks some questions, but I think I'll read that one last. I'm going to read Paper Identity. A sterile gloved hand reaches in to measure the readiness of an expectant wound ripe with life. Sterile covered mouth shouting hurried commands above a woman's cries, tearful eyes filled with strife, flesh and blood, pulsing, moving, tension growing, suddenly a bloody showing. The infant's birth is imminent, woman's body, now racked with pain, weakens. Oh, sweet bliss of father's kiss upon mother's stretched out skin, when baby safely slept within. Mother knew who within her body grew. The infant knew his mother's voice, her moods, her touch, and she knew his. No denial here existed, no identity here was twisted. Born this day is a living person whom society must now manipulate. With the many self-serving problems it creates, paperwork, medical, and legal records, the only valid proof of nature's efforts? Proof of insurance gives clerks assurance. This identity is real, not one he did steal. Imagine, just imagine, if all those documents disintegrated, would we all be invalidated? Are we nothing more than a paper identity? That was written a long time ago, as was this, but not quite so long ago. I began to examine the things I write and why I write them, and this came from that. Then came the question, if I dream, what may I dream? If I write, what may I write? If I love, whom may I love? And if I fight, what may I fight? My heart and my head held a great debate. Each studied their points to expound. Carefully they took note of what each other wrote. Then they sat down to toss it around. My heart presented the question of dreams. My head suggested I replace them with schemes. No, said my heart, would you kill your soul? On dreams you can soar to search out your mind, to see what heights your imagination can climb. No, said my heart, dreams are an essential part of the whole. See here, said my head, with schemes you can plan. You'll know where you're going because you can see where you've been. With schemes you never lose sight of the goal. No, said my head, schemes are the essential part of the whole. Then came the question of what may I write? My head jumped in first with power and might. You write what will serve you, that which will bring you great wealth and great fame. And my heart sadly winced and announced with great pain, I'm sorry to say we share the same name. No,
long said my heart, you write what you feel, and with your pen you take aim. The well-written word can help win the fight, but great wealth and great fame won't make it right. Conviction and shame pierced the pride in my head. The power of love took over instead. The question of whom was answered by grace, with mercy and blessing. He let it flow from heart's place. As for the fight, the battle's been won. All that remains is to honor the sun.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you came up again. Does anyone else want to read? Last call. Oh, yes, Kara, yes. I'm so sorry, you need to look.
Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna read two. This one, I'm terrible at finishing things, so it's not finished. But oh well. I want to read it. It's called Here I Am. Oh, one more thing. I got diagnosed last year with schizoaffective, so I have schizophrenic-like episodes sometimes. So this comes from, I write when I'm in those episodes. Anyways, back to it. Okay, here I am on this futon of discomfort, shedding hair and kept secrets, sitting in what I call a little bit of freedom. I'm wearing a shirt with my shoulders out. If he was here, this wouldn't be happening. I'm so happy to cry, to not hold my breath all the time. But when the dragon is back, the prince must go back to his tower. Trapped up there once, he released himself, revealed himself, and got drawn in by an evil-hearted wizard. Mr. Wizard, this tower is stuffy and reminds. Rewind. If I told you what happened to me, I opened up to you about what he did, and then you go and do it too. So here I am watching yet another episode of The Office, watching my life pass by me quickly and change. Dear Dragon, I tried to save myself multiple times. Just let me free from the trains of your memory. Why me of all people? Why me? Hold on. How could it be two different villains in the same game? If you just left me be, I would reach out to the galaxy. Let the energy envelop me, keeping me in its warm embrace, my soul lifting, reading bliss. Then this body crashes down to earth. Okay, this is called Two Trademarks. Hello there. Do I need to introduce myself? You've probably forgotten the face of a woman you refuse to watch grow. That's cool. I don't mind. This body carries your DNA, but not your characteristics in any way. You embrace the thought of letting me go harder than you did the last time you saw that little girl 18 years ago. Kara, are you a lesbian? If I say yes, will you begin to love me in every way? If I say no, will you for once remember my birthday? Did you ever stop and ask yourself why I don't feel safe to let anyone close, enough to make me quiver in anticipation to see them again? You are worse than the monsters that crawl from my head onto my skin. You know that's a talent, leaving and never looking back again. I guess the chance to be a father to someone you don't want is an unpleasant notion. They all hurt me and I need you to be my shield and sword, but instead you left me, left an once innocent child, defenseless against an army of thousands. I know it wasn't your choice to keep me, but here I am. The 8-year-old held a knife to her throat because of people like you. No, I wasn't tired or stressed. The only thing you taught me was to hate myself. Well, I have someone here you hate. That's said and better than carrying your blood. You're worse than every man that claimed my body without my willing, and every bruise she gave me because you helped me believe I deserved it. I wasn't brought here just so you can claim my accomplishments as a testament to your great character. Those eyes of longing are no longer pointed to you. She won't wait for you anymore. I'm setting her free from her cage of heartache. And if I have a daughter, she'll never look at her reflection, wondering if she is Snow White or the evil queen, constantly questioning herself, why is she this way? I'll hold her tightly, love her kindly, and teach her the universe is her to reach for. I lied. There's one more thing you taught me indirectly. That army is no match for me.
Thank you, Kira. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to read one more, if that's okay. Anybody else want to read too? All right. That was good. Okay. Find it. There it is. Okay. This is after a movie that I saw called Joanna d'Arc de Mongolia, a long time ago. Reflections on Joanna d'Arc de Mongolia, driving from the movie. Floating along the 4-lane lake, night and homeward, music and monotony in my skull, Mongolian nomads raced long horses as grasses grew back before them. Brilliant hued silks bursting through the wet outer subway walls, shattering with laughter and wind and sun, cheers and whistling, amazing me into sudden movement while driving. Everything is as slow as earth to sand, blows quickly into deserts. Sand rushing into my eyes from their hooves and speeding, scrubbing me of sight to fill my head like an urn. I shift. The nomads cross over me now on their good horses. The princess leads the way in their shimmering silken bodies. I am their desert, near the train where the spirit tree stands. Thank you all so much for coming. It's a real blessing to have you here. And thank you, Karen and Steve, for having us as well. And thank you, Benjamin Reese, for featuring. Thank you so much. And next time it will be August 25th, here, same time, same bat time. And Chance Chambers will be our feature. So just letting you know. Thank you all so much. And stay and have some drinks and stuff.